28 past the hour, Donald Trump is trying to move his hush money conviction from state court to federal court again. This is a move the former president has tried and failed at before, but this time the Trump legal team is citing the recent Supreme Court ruling on presidential immunity. It's his latest bid to delay his sentencing in the New York hush money case following his conviction on all 34 counts. Joining us now, NBC's Ken Dilanian and Catherine Christian, former assistant Manhattan district attorney and an MSNBC legal analyst. Ken, good morning. So what do we know about the benefit for Trump to have this case in federal court as opposed to state court?
Good morning, Jose. Well, Trump's lawyers are arguing that the New York state court system is failing to protect federal interest in this case, and that the Supreme Court's immunity decision means this conviction should be overturned. Now, obviously, Judge Merchan in New York has rejected that argument, and now Trump's lawyers are hoping the federal courts will embrace it. The problem, as you alluded to, is that the federal judge they're asking, Alvin Hellerstein, has previously rebuffed that exact argument. In an opinion last year, he wrote that, quote, the evidence overwhelmingly suggests that the matter was a purely personal item of the president, a cover-up of an embarrassing event. And he added, hush money paid to an adult film star is not related to a president's official acts. It does not reflect in any way the color of the president's official duties. So I guess the only question now is whether anything in the Supreme Court decision would force that judge to reconsider his reasoning. And obviously, if this bid fails, and it's a long shot, the New York case, the sentencing in the New York case is scheduled for September 18th, Jose.
I mean, Catherine, does Trump's legal argument this time have any more weight to it than the other time?
It's not illegitimate because the other time there was no Supreme Court decision. So now there is a Supreme Court decision about official acts evidence. And their argument, the Trump's team argument, which they have made before Judge Merchan, and we're waiting for his decision, is that Hope Hicks communications during the time he was president, Madeleine Westerhout, and other evidence that occurred when Donald Trump was president should not have been admitted during this state trial. So they are going to do everything they can to make sure that Donald Trump does not get sentenced before Election Day. It should be noted that the Manhattan DA's office have already said that they do not oppose his sentencing being delayed until after Election Day. But that doesn't mean Judge Merchan has to agree with that. So it's not an illegitimate motion. They should have made it. And as Ken said, the judge could say, been there, done that, denied. Or the judge could say, well, you're right, we have a Supreme Court decision. And if he decides that, then the state court cannot sentence Donald Trump unless the judge sends the case back to them. But he could also just outright deny it, meaning Judge Hellerstein.
And Ken, meanwhile, Ken, we're also waiting for some court filings from both Trump and Smith's teams for the election interference case. What's the latest there?
Yeah, that's right, Jose. Those filings are due by midnight tonight, and they will reflect each side's ideas for how to move forward with this case in the wake of the immunity decision. Now, obviously, the special counsel has already made his opening bid by filing a superseding indictment that removes actions by Trump that clearly would be considered official acts under the Supreme Court decision. But Trump's lawyers, of course, are going to argue that that superseding does not nearly go far enough. And so there's likely to be a series of hearings hashing all of this out, and ultimately, Judge Tanya Chutkan will make a decision which can then be appealed all the way to the Supreme Court before there is a trial. So even if Trump loses the election, it may be a year or more before this case goes to trial, Jose.
I mean, so, Catherine, is that the schedule? Is that the only road and route that this case could take?
Yes, and it's, again, Judge Donald Trump's lawyers do not want any type of substantive hearing before Election Day on this case. But the judge could rule that there will be one, but there will be no trial. Let's get that out the way. It should also be noted that in September, 4 different Trump cases have court dates. Next Friday, there's an oral argument on the Jean Carroll sex abuse defamation case. There is, of course, the set aside the verdict motion we're waiting for, the decision from Judge Merchan and possible sentencing. And then there's an oral argument on September 26th on his civil fraud trial. So there's a lot of activity on at least 4 cases that Donald Trump has during the month of September.
Ken Dilanian and Catherine Christian, thank you both so very much.